Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, last night. The information we'll get into right now with Michael Avenatti, who joins me. Sarah Sanders today, when Jim Acosta from CNN said that the American people have a right to know, have a right to get answers about the fact that a Russian oligarch, a Putin crony, who has a controlling interest in an investment firm, and that investment firm's U.S. subsidiary gave a, I think, $500,000 cash payment to Michael Cohen, the Trump fixer. Sarah Sanders today saying that the White House briefing room not the appropriate venue for questions about that. You're the one that first brought this payment to light, although it has been confirmed by several media outlets. How do you respond?
Well, if that's not the forum, what is the forum? I mean, we have yet to hear from them as to what they, the forum they prefer, but there needs to be a forum, Jake, where they explain the series of payments, and there's a series of payments between January $500,000, and it's not just those payments. There's a whole host of other payments made by multinational corporations. We have yet to really get a straight answer as to why they hired Michael Cohen, what they hired him for, what the president knew about it, whether the president ever received any of the money, either directly or indirectly from it, what Michael Cohen did with the money, and the list of questions goes on and on.
Is there something more nefarious that you suspect took place beyond what is legal in Washington, which is rather disgusting and swampy influence peddling? People who are close to a politician, people who have had previous relationships to a politician, going out there saying, hey, I have ties to politician X, give me a retainer of $200,000, I can advise you how to work this. The companies, in addition to this firm with the ties to the Russian oligarch and Putin crony, include AT&T, Novartis, and there are others. Is there anything more nefarious at stake than what is already fairly seedy, but might be completely legal?
Based on my review of the evidence and what I know from our investigation, I don't think it's as simple as what you've described. I think ultimately it's going to be shown that there's things that are far more nefarious. And in fact, if you look at the reaction of some of these companies over the last 24 hours, I think that is a strong indication that where there's smoke, there's fire. And by that, what I mean is you have the U.S.-based entity tied to the oligarch now claiming they have no ties whatsoever to the oligarch or the parent Russian entity.
Well, he said just to be clear on what exactly, the firm is Columbus Nova. That has ties to the Russian oligarch and Putin crony Viktor Vekselberg. They said the claims of Vekselberg used the company as a vehicle to pay Michael Cohen, that's false. Not that there's no ties, but that it wasn't the oligarch himself funneling this money, to use Rudy Giuliani's preferred word, funneling the money to Michael Cohen. That's what they said.
Well, actually, they said more than that, because they claimed that they were entirely U.S. owned, and they seemed to suggest they had no ties whatsoever to the Russian parent company or the oligarch, which is patently untrue. You had one statement from Novartis last night, which they had to back off and walk back today, relating to how much money they had paid and what the involvement level was. So, you know, these companies are trying to put a spin out there, because the truth, I think, ultimately is going to be very, very bad for them and very bad for Michael Cohen and potentially bad for the president.
What is this truth that you talk about?
I think that ultimately what's going to be disclosed is that Michael Cohen was selling access to the highest office in the land, that Donald Trump knew about it. He knew Michael Cohen was not a registered lobbyist. He knew Michael Cohen wasn't making the requisite disclosures. And what's going to be very interesting to see, I think, Jake, ultimately is when you trace the money, about what money came into this LLC and what money went out of the LLC. And the president and Michael Cohen better hope that none of that money gets traced back to the president or the Trump organization or another entity that the president controlled at the time, because if so, I think that could have serious consequences.
Do you have evidence that President Trump knew about this? Do you have evidence that some of that money going into this essential consultants, this shell corporation that Michael Cohen set up, that some of that money did find its way into the coffers of the Trump organization or anything related to President Trump?
I'm not going to disclose right here, right now, the extent of the evidence that we have and what it shows. We've been pretty measured in what we've released, and almost 100% of everything that we've released is checked out. You saw we released the summary last night. I think the New York Times confirmed it, NBC confirmed it. I think one or two other press outlets independently confirmed the information.
That's a lie.
So you said almost 100% because you're referring to there are a couple payments that might have been to a different Michael Cohen.
I think there's a $980 payment or some other minor payment.
But the big ones check out as Michael
Yeah,
Cohen.
I mean the big ones, meaning 99% check out.
Okay, just trying to be precise here. You talked about how President Trump better hope that none of this leads back to him. In
It's
terms of
not
whether
going
or not he
to.
knew, or whether or not any of the money went back to him. And you,
Mother show, they're not even going. Things are so bad now, Jake. They're not even going on Fox. That's how bad things are.
but I mean, with the allegation you're suggesting here, not only that somebody was selling access to the president, but that maybe he was even giving some of the money to the president or to his firms. That is a stark suggestion.
I'm not making that suggestion. I'm not making that allegation.
You're
What
not
I'm saying,
Okay.
what I'm saying is that all the evidence is not in yet as to where Tower was very close to the president throughout the campaign, handled a whole host of issues, including personal issues such as the Stormy Daniels situation. The idea that Donald Trump knew none of what Michael Cohen was doing starting in January of 2017, I think is a bunch of nonsense.
You just don't believe it. Obviously, the Shell Corporation, we first learned about it because of your case, the Stormy Daniels